good afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you may be. Let us continue on with ChäoS Head, the PC version, in case you were wondering. Because apparently moving a mouse cursor around this fluently doesn't make it obvious enough. If I got $1 for every time someone asked me if I was using a PC version while it said so in the tags, which YouTube gladly removed, thank you for ruining that, YouTube, then I would be stinking rich. But even if we were just friends, it made me incredibly happy. Having another person be nice to me. Having another person try to do something for my sake without seeking anything in return. I'd never known it could bring me such joy. It might be the first time I've ever felt like this. I've never felt this way before. And more than anything, she made me believe I wasn't alone. No, I'm not alone. Shall we play some music? Nah. Oh, I think I missed something in my little sippy. Rimi's existence had saved me. My nausea had finally settled down, and I felt considerably better. What Rimi held out to me was a vermilion floral-scented handkerchief. I accepted it meekly, but I hesitated to use it. I felt bad about it, but I decided that I might as well accept her generosity. I wiped the edges of my bile-soiled mouth. It was the first time I'd received a present from a girl outside my family, although I wasn't sure whether or not I could call this a gift. Because I had felt as I were alone. Because I had felt as if I were alone in the world. Even a little thing like this induced the same gratitude in me as something far more precious. My happiness and relief threatened to make tears spill out again. Rimi asked me in a carefree voice. Apparently we'll leave school together. Her suggestion from before was already a done deal. Though I hadn't given her an answer yet. Not that I had any intention of refusing. I was frightened of being alone. I didn't want to be by myself. Right now, Rimi was the only person I could lean on. That said, I couldn't relax simply because Rimi was going to walk me home. I picked a different route from usual on the way back, and proceeded cautiously, trembling all the while. Every shadow seemed to hold danger. I had to lisp. Every shadow seemed to hold danger. I was tormented by the delusion that Yua or Shogun might be around the corner each time I approached an intersection, and my legs would go weak, halting my progress. At such times, Rimi would go ahead and scout out the road beyond the intersection, and then turn back and nod at me. Relieved, I followed after her. Rimi went along me without a single grimace. Looks like my cat's coming in for a cameo. Or rather, a cat meow. Yo! Alright, that hurt. That's a good question. I was a little torn over whether or not to tell her about it. Tell her about it. If I told her here, and she, too, ended up being targeted by Shogun, it'd be my fault for getting her involved. By the way, if you haven't noticed, I think I I put like 3 song references in this video already.
いや、話すよ。
My mouth had already started moving. I definitely didn't want to get caught up in it. But if I didn't explain anything, Remy wouldn't understand the gravity of my position. For my own sake, I ultimately chose to close my eyes to the potential danger to Remy. She'd been the one to say she'd stay with me. So it's not like I was going to do anything wrong. Or rather, I was doing anything wrong. The fact that Shogun was a true new-gen criminal. The fact that Yuo was his underling. The fact that they were targeting me. What had happened in front of the 107 building. I summarized everything, stuttering all the while. When I spoke of how Shogun had appeared in front of me, riding his wheelchair, Remy made a sober face and lapsed into thought. I'd been thinking I wanted to ask her about that incident. This was the ideal opportunity to do so.
いたかな、車椅子のおじいさんなんて。
There was so little confidence in her answer.
思い出して。大切なことだ。
でも。
Remy scrunched up her eyebrows, as if she didn't want to say it.
そもそもあの時渋谷の駅前が無人だったなんてことなかったよ。いつもと同じだった。
That was how it must have appeared to Remy at the time. If possible, I'd wanted her to agree with me, but Remy and I, out of the 2 spectacles we viewed, who was correct? Was I mistaken after all? Had the empty Shibuya been a delusion of mine? But that created a slight problem. The elderly, wheelchair-bound man who had appeared in the depopulated Shibuya, Shogun. How was I supposed to explain him? If the depopulation had been delusionary, Shogun would have to have been a delusion as well.
駅前って人が多いでしょ。だから車椅子の人がいてもなかなか気がつかないだろうし。要するに見てないってこと。ごめんね、役に立てなくて。
At the very least, Shogun wasn't a figment of my imagination. At first, I thought it was a delusion, but my understanding of the situation had flipped 180 degrees upon the emergence of the group dive video. Shogun was real. Shogun existed. But maybe the empty Shibuya part of it had been imaginary. Even then, the area around the station had been overflowing with people, and I alone had viewed it in a different kind of scenery. Wait, how could that be?
ねえ、それよりお願いがあるんだけど、いい？
え？
Remy pressed her hands together in supplication.
CD を買いに行きたいんだ。せっかくここまで来てからちょっと寄っていきたいんだけど、いいかな
？Truthfully, I wanted to go home to my base this very instant. If you do that, you're a really dickish ass. This girl is fucking helping you out. Won't even take a small detour for a CD. I'd come here, taken a long way because I'd been considering the possibility that Yua and Shogun were lurking somewhere, not because I wanted to shop. Except, if I turned her down here, it might damage Remy's mood. She was the one who said she would be there for me. If I screwed up, she could get angry and go back by herself. Yup! That'd be problematic. I needed to have Remy with me. On my own, I wasn't even sure that I could make it back to my base. In the end, I found myself unable to refuse her. All I could do was haltingly tag along after her. Perhaps it would be ordinary to think that surely even someone like you wouldn't launch an attack on me with this many people around. But my fear that they were hiding somewhere nearby, blending in with the rest of the crowd, far surpassed that. I shrieked internally each time I came close to bumping shoulders with the people passing me by.
パトカーだ。
Rimi's words give me a start. I quickly hid behind her. Just as she said, she said, 2 police cars were parked in the street, and nearby them stood 3 uniformed soldiers. Soldiers? What the fuck? Alright. Just as she said, 2 police cars were parked in the street, and nearby them stood 3 uniformed officers. Great. You can speak the English. Whoa. The police too were chasing me. I was obviously innocent, but the incompetent police couldn't grasp that. Were those policemen searching for me too? Or so I thought, but apparently that wasn't the case. Their line of sight rested on the vast quantities of people who traversed the road as though they owned it. Were those people protesters? They came equipped with various standard issue items, from banners to posters with messages on their forehead bands. I bit my lip upon seeing a child tripping along, pulled by the hand of his parents, with whose eyes are those eyes written messily in marker on the front of his t-shirt.
何のデモだろうね。
Well, they were yelling Shibuya o Mamore, so I think it's pretty obvious. There were a variety of marchers, young and old, male and female alike. They paraded solemnly along, but once in a while they cried in unison, "Drive the demons out of Shibuya."
悪魔。
I didn't hear Akuma. I heard... well, it might be. It was pretty bad sound quality. Many of the posters were inscribed with messages like, "Drive the demons away from our city. Protect Shibuya from terrorists." Ah, that's what I heard. There had to be a show of resistance against the new gen incidents. There was no point in demonstrating about it. If you got that much free time on your hands, find and kill Shogun. That way all my worries will vanish.
タク、行こう。
Disinterested, Rimi shifted her gaze away from the demonstrators and began walking toward the entrance to a CD shop. As soon as we came in the store, Rimi went straight for the indie music corner. Oh boy. Unlike the J-pop corner, there weren't many customers in the vicinity. Rimi stopped in front of the F shelf and began searching for the CD she had in mind. But her shoulders soon sagged.
やっぱりないな。
An indie group whose names began with an F. Could it be?
タクはファンタズムってバンドを知ってる？今話題になってるけど。
So that was lost in translation. Phantasm, there is no P. Or rather there is in Japanese, but there's no standalone P, I would say. So, phantasm has to be written with F, and that's why it's set under F. If you didn't see that. So, instead we could say that phantasm is written as phantasm. Okay. As I'd guessed, there was no way I wouldn't know. I'd been to one of their concerts, and I owned their CD. Oh, that sounds promising. That sounds like she's gonna go to your room. Hi-yo. Rimi smiled ruefully when I nodded.
私、そういう情報は結構疎くて、最近になって知ったんだ。
Mm-hmm.
それで友達に借りようかと思ったんだけど、なかなか手に入らないらしくて誰も持ってないんだよ。だから CD 買うしかないかなって思って、ここ1週間ぐらいあちこち探してみたんだけど、どこも売り切れ中。次はいつ入るんだろう。
僕持ってる。
Rimi's eyes went round.
持ってるって CD？
I nodded, and Rimi placed her hand on my shoulders. If I take this, she's going to murder me for it. I'm pretty sure. Her sudden closeness flustered me. Ah, that distrusting look. The sweet smell of shampoo that came floating from her hair tickled my nose, and I knew my face was getting flushed with heat.
ねえタク、取引しよう。
Oh my god. A deal?
その CD 貸してくれたら、見返りに私。
She wore a terribly serious expression as she watched me. My breath caught in my throat, and returned she would do what? Here we go! Her cheeks blushing with a trace of embarrassment. Rimi whispered to me as though she'd made up her mind.
私のこと好きにしていいよ。
What the fuck? Just for a CD? I should buy CDs more often. God. When I comprehended her meaning, I lost my composure. Oh, right! I actually got a CD from my friend over at his channel, youtube.com/asdfsan. I have it right here. And it's a CD by Professor Sakamoto. And he's a great artist. I highly suggest you check him out, Prof. Sakamoto. And this CD is called 8-Bit Jukebox. And it's basically all these songs from the 90s and 80s in Japan. I'm holding it right now. And they're 8-bitified. And I actually own his other 2 CDs on my PC. I bought them online. I don't have them in CD form because they sell for lots of dollars. But seriously, he's one of the funniest guys I've ever met, and I actually messaged him saying, "Hey dude, I know you went to France, and I'd be honored if you could, you know, throw a gig in Belgium for one day, like once." And he said, I might. I'll see you in Belgium one day then. And I was like so happy about that because, I mean, it shows he really appreciates even people from abroad, those baka gaijin, buying his CD, and I was really happy about that. So yeah, that's a short story. And I also have the other CD here in front of me, Zelda's 25th anniversary CD. I love what it says, like in German. Hinweis! Diese Disc kann nicht mit einer Wii-Konsole abgespielt werden. Bitte verwende hierfür einen CD-Player. Alright. And then in French. Avis. Il est impossible de lire ce disque sur une console Wii. Veuillez utiliser un lecteur de CD. And then in my language. Let op. Deze disc kan niet op een Wii-systeem worden afgespeeld. Speel de disc af met een CD-player. Yeah, no shit. And then I'm not really sure which language is which, because I don't want to insult people from Denmark and I don't want to insult people from Norway because I know what their situation is. So I won't be reading that, but fun times. You know what? Save it here and we'll go on with the sex show next time. See you guys next time.